My guest in conversation today first came to public attention in a BBC production called Diana. She followed that with two Barbara Taylor Bradford miniseries, A Woman of Substance and Hold the Dream. She played QC Joe Mills for 6 years in the TV series Judge John Deed. She was the subject of This Is Your Life in 2003. She's done countless productions in the West End and, of course, throughout the UK on tour. She recently played the mother in the thriller The Exorcist, a recent film which I saw, which was absolutely wonderful. She played Louisa Gould in Another Mother's Son. And she's even managed to find the time to create a horse sanctuary called Main Chance. She is Jenny Seagrove. Hi, Jenny.
Hello, my dear friend.
Really good.
In lockdown,
Really good to
I've got
see you.
lockdown hair. It's just catastrophic. We'll all look back
Haven't
on
we
these
all?
days and go, how did I manage that?
I know.
And how do you
He's
manage to
written
look so good? I hate you.
No, stop it. You look great. You look great. What's it been like for you? Because, of course, you're with Bill Kenwright, the producer. How are you? How's he? Is it tense at home at the moment?
Well, it took some getting through. I was supposed to be starting rehearsals on April the 6th for a quite wonderful couple of plays, which they haven't been announced yet, and they won't be now because obviously lockdown happened and we couldn't do them. They will happen. But so lockdown was what, March the 24th, and I was supposed to have been in rehearsal April the 6th. So that was a shock to the system. And Bill, as you know, is a total workaholic. And it took him some settling, if I might use that word. You know, this is a man who's got up every day and gone to work. And suddenly he was stuck in a house with me and two dogs. It took some getting used to, but he's all right. You know, the office, those that are working, they have a call every day. So if you hear any loud voices in the background, that's what he's doing. And he's just getting on with it. He's plotting, he's planning, he's trying to see when we can open again. He's working on a film that we've got coming out. He's doing all sorts of things. And of course, he runs Everton Football Club. So that's keeping him busy as well.
Yeah, loads to do. We're recording this, by the way, for anybody watching. We're recording it kind of early June. So the situation is that things are getting better, but still in our business, the entertainment industry, it's still so uncertain, which is why, of course, we're doing this for Acting for Others, because so many performers and entertainment industry professionals are having a really bad time emotionally and financially. That's why we wanted to do it.
And I think we'll be last back, as it were. I think we're sort of the great forgotten tribe. I mean, even Abbey Road Studios is back with an orchestra, but no theatre is back, no film is back. I mean, can you imagine social distancing on television? You can't kiss anyone, you can't touch it, you can't do it, it's impossible. They're going to have to just do something. They're going to have to do some test and trace, but then you'll never get insurance anyway. It's not my problem. I'm just champing at the bit to get going again.
Yeah, we all are. And that's the
thing. And I feel so sorry for my actor friends who've just literally lost their living overnight. I mean, you know, I'm all right. I live with Bill. We've got a bit of money. We're okay. But some of my actors live from job to job, and that stopped. And I don't know how they're doing. I know Equity set up a benevolent fund, which, you know, we've all contributed to. And yeah. I don't know how else they're coping. It's a very worrying time for them. And for the people behind the scenes. You know, let's forget them.
Exactly, which is what Acting for Others does, you know, covering 14 charities, not just for performers. That's what we keep saying to people. Please donate, because it's not just for performers. It's for people who work in the theatre, not just technicians, box office people, front of house staff. You know, they make their living from working at the theatre and working in telly. It's difficult. Anyway, listen, enough of that. Hopefully everything's going to be good. We're optimistic and, you know, here's to a nice positive future. Jenny, let's talk about you. So you were born in Kuala Lumpur. Why and how was that?
Well, because my dad was a translator. He, for some reason, had Japanese. So he went out to Burma in the war and he loved it so much. He went to Malaysia it took a long time for the British to bring their troops back. He was in the intelligence. And he loved it so much in Malaysia, where they were kind of waiting to come back to England, that he thought, well, I'm going to stay here. And my mum, who was also in the intelligence, for some reason was out there, and they met on the ship back. And he proposed to her and she agreed. And so off they toddled back to Malaysia to set up home. And they had my brother and I. So I was born in Malaysia.
But then when you were 1, your mother suffered a stroke. So
She did.
how did that affect her, and how did it affect the family?
Well, she was in hospital giving birth to what would have been my younger brother. He didn't survive. But strangely enough, it was the birth that caused the stroke. And by being in hospital, she was able to survive. It was tough on her. She spent, I think, pretty much a year learning to walk and talk again. And for the rest of her life, she had a weakness all down her left side. But she was an extraordinary woman, quite extraordinary. Never let anything get her down, was always cheerful, and really had a rotten time health-wise for the rest of her life. And, you know, as a child, it was really hard because you've got a mum who's a bit different from other mums. And as a child, you don't understand. So you're a bit embarrassed. But as I got older, I was able to really cherish how special she was. And sadly, she's no longer with us.
So from a practical point of view, could she actually look after you?
Yes. Yes. But when I was 1, she wasn't there for the year. So I think that my dad, God bless him, had to bottle feed me. I don't think he was very good at it. Yeah, I believe she was able to look after us when she came home. I mean, she got discharged from hospital.
Yeah.
I suppose she was. I was too young, you know. My first memories start when I was about 4, and I remember her being a very hands-on mother.
So what about the acting? When did that love for acting or appreciation of performance and acting or dance or whatever it was start for you?
I did ballet when I was about 7 till 9. I even went on my points. And until I was about 7, I was quite a pretty little thing. And then I got quite dumpy and put some spectacles on. And then I became what I call an ugly duckling. And I did my ballet, and I thought, I don't really want to do this. And then at my prep school, we did Greek dancing. But also, there was a stage there. It's a wonderful little school called St. Hilary's in Godalming. And the headmistress there introduced me to poetry speaking. So I learnt, you know, William Wordsworth's Daffodils and Upon Westminster Bridge and all of that. And I remember writing, directing and starring in, as Prince Charming, of course, because I had short hair, my own production of Sleeping Beauty. So I got to start loving the theatre. And I also remember my first trip to the Yvonne Arnaud. It's the first theatre I'd ever been to see Cinderella. It had a revolving stage and, of course, little Shetland ponies. Well, I was entranced. But however, I wanted to be a vet. All my life, until I was 17, I wanted to be a vet. So I took the requisite science A-levels and I got them. And I woke up one morning and I thought, I'd be a rotten vet. I'd really struggled with putting animals down. I couldn't do it. And I thought, oh dear, what shall I do? And at my big school, I'd always played the lead in plays. So I thought, well, I'm quite good at acting. I'll be an actress. So I remember very well telling my mum on the stairs in the house that they had in Sussex. I said, Mum, I've got some news for you. I don't want to be a vet. And she went green. And she said, well, you've always wanted to be a vet. What happened? I said, I just wouldn't be very good. She said, well, what do you want to do? I said, I want to be an actress. And at that point, the green turned to white and all the colour drained from her face. And she just paused for a minute. And then to give it her due, God bless her, she said, all right, well, if you want to be an actress, you must have something to back you up. So you must either do a secretarial course or a cookery course. Well, there's no way I'm going to do a secretarial course. I went to Mrs. Russell's 3-star school of cookery in Victoria for 3 months, did my cordon bleu cooking, came out, went to an agency to ask if I could that summer work as a cook to raise some money, because I was then going to go, because I was still quite young, to a crammer in Cambridge for a year to do arts A-levels, because I thought, just get my mind in a different bearing, as it were. And I did my 3 months of cooking, my cordon bleu course, and I've never had to use it. And instead, I ended up running the nannies agency, but that summer it was hilarious. And after I'd got my A-levels in English, History of Art and Art, which I felt like coming home, I have to say, then I took a year off, and then I auditioned I wanted to go to the Bristol Old Vic Theatre School. Didn't want to go to RADA. I wanted to go there, and my backups were Lambda and Webber Douglas. And I was on the short list for the Bristol Old Vic, whereas I'd got a place into the other two. And so I rang the Bristol Old Vic during the summer. And I remember saying, hello, it's Jenny Seagrove. And this voice picked me. Yes. I said, who am I speaking to? And he said, it was Nat Brenner. And he was the principal. The principal had picked up the phone.
And he picked up the phone.
I'm on the short list. And I need to know if you want me to come or not, because if not, I've got to take one of the other places, and I don't want to come to you. And there was this huge pause. And he said, yes, I think we can offer you a place. So I went to the Bristol Old Vic Theatre School for 3 years. And it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing.
Why did you particularly want to go there, Jenny? Why that particular school?
Well, I thought rather, I hate to say it, but I thought it was for show-offs. And I'm sure it wasn't. Some wonderful actors have come out of RADA, but sort of there was always the reputation that RADA created stars and the Bristol Old Vic created team players. And there was something about being out of London and the fact that they did a weekend course rather than just a couple of auditions, because I always think that anybody can get through an audition, but not necessarily grow after that in terms of a performance, because you can learn what to do in an audition. And Bristol Old Vic was the only place that did these weekend courses. And that really impressed me. I just wanted to go there, and it had a brilliant reputation. And I got in. And I was there with the likes of Danny Day-Lewis and Amanda Redman, Mandy Richardson, Greta Scacchi, Nick Farrell, Alex Jennings. I mean, you know, we had a monstrous list of people who've done amazing work. I was blessed to be there. Absolutely blessed.
Was that 3 years?
Yeah, it was 3 years. I crossed over because there's a 3-year course, and in the middle year, there's only 10 of you, of which Danny was one. And in either side, the first year and the second year, most people do 2 years. So there's about 20 people, or maybe 25. So we were in our first year with the first lot. Then they went on to their second year. Then we did our little mini group in the second year, and then we joined the people who in our second year had been on their first year in their second year. So we spanned a whole lot of people, but it was lovely. It was amazing.
I'm always slightly envious of actors who've been to drama school, because I bypassed that. I was already working, which was great, but I remember...
I don't know. You see, I think some actors don't need drama school. I think I did, but some are natural. And if you're already working, sometimes drama school can actually take the naturalness off you. So, you know, I don't think you need to be envious.
No, but it's just, I think that when you talk about, you know, the 3 years there and people who were there with you, and you just learn so much. There's so much to grab. I remember an actress, Gwen Taylor, who we know, and I was actually doing a series with Gwen Taylor, and this was about 1979, and we came to the end of it, and she said, what are you going to do now? And I said, I don't know, you know, wait for my work. She said, if I were you, because I was about 19 then, she said, I would either try and go to drama school or try and get into rep. And I said, why? She said, because you just need, you want to do some theatre, you want to learn about theatre, you've done lots of telly. And I couldn't face the audition process for drama school, so I actually went into rep. And at the time I was I couldn't quite understand why she said that, but I get that now. I get why she thought a little bit of drama school or rep would be a good idea. And I did rep, and I really appreciate it. I think it's what you said.
Sorry for young actors now, because there aren't any reps anymore.
No.
And they don't get to cut their teeth and learn on stage. They don't get to do what we did, which was learn your craft, because it is a craft. You know, it's a lot of hard work and about 1% of inspiration. And if you can't go out on stage and make a fool of yourself and learn from the audience's reaction, then, you know, what you do is some of them get very big parts on television very quickly. And they're thrust into it with huge responsibility. And they have to learn on the hoof in the public eye. It's very difficult, very different now as well. And what really puzzles me is when I was young, all those years ago, dear, everybody said it's all about mystery. You must never let people know too much about you because you must have mystery. Nowadays, you get cast if you've got 1 million followers on Instagram. They want to know everything about you, the colour of your nose hairs. It's just, it's all wrong.
Yeah.
But of course, I'm on the older side of things, so I'm bound to think it's wrong, but it just feels wrong to me.
Yeah. Also, it was nice, wasn't it, to learn a little bit about behind the scenes, about how shows are put together, about props, about stage management.
Absolutely.
I learned a lot of that in rep. You know.
And to work with people and to know what a team business it is. You
Yeah.
know, it's collaboration. It's not about you being the star. It's about teamwork, always, through and through.
Was it easy for you when you left drama school? Did you start working and working successfully almost straight away?
I did. I've been terribly lucky. I had a wonderful dance teacher called Lynn Britt, and she said to me at drama school, because you wrote to everyone, because you had to get an equity card. Those were the days. And she said, whatever you do, write to, I think his name was Brian Carter at the Yvonne Arnaud Theatre. Well, of course, I forgot. And she said to me as we were getting towards the end of term, she said, Jen, have you written to him? I went, oh, no, I haven't. She said, don't worry. Write a letter and I'll ring him up. So she did. Well, me and Mandy Richardson got an interview for Bedroom Farce, I think it was. I got the part and off I went to the Yvonne Arnaud Theatre for my first ever job. And then I went up to Newcastle to the playhouse there to play Paris's Page and Lady Montague in Romeo and Juliet, and then a Frisky Stoat in Toad of Toad Hall. Doesn't get better than that.
Wow.
And then I came down, I did a short film, then I did something for schools in the park called Susie and the Dazzling Doobie Wangle Dodge. And then I think I got Local Hero, which was massive and is still people's cult favourite film. And then I played Laura Felly in The Woman in White. And then I did a film called Nathan Hayes, and then Diana came along, and I did that, and it just went from there. So I was incredibly lucky.
And it seems like you've really managed to do the theatre, do telly, do film, kind of one after the other. And that's very difficult for a lot of actors to do. A lot of actors are really good and prolific theatre actors. Or a lot of people get into a soap or they get on telly and they want to do more theatre, but they can't. You've managed to juggle all these things in your career.
Lucky. I'm telling you, I've been lucky.
Yeah.
I have. I've played the lead in 13 West End plays. I've done films. I've done TV. I've been lucky. What can I say?
Yeah, but you've worked hard as well, Jenny. You know.
I've been lucky.
Yeah.
And
so
my Bill, I mean, I used to be paranoid at the beginning that he only cast me in things because he loved me. And I've now got the confidence to realize he casts me because he knows I can act, you know. I've got the chops, but, you know, like he's got his own sort of team of actors that he works with, which includes you, which includes Martin Shaw and Judi Dench. And, you know, there's a whole team of actors that he employs over and over again. And thankfully, I'm one of them. So if I'm not doing a telly, he'll keep me busy on stage somewhere because he knows it's absolutely impossible if I'm not working.
We both know, you know.
Although, having said that, I've got so many other things in my life because as an actor, you do have time out. Never huge time out, but you do have time out. And so knowing that I needed to be doing other things, I did try my hand at producing, failed miserably. I remember being on the phone after a performance of The Country Girl in the West End. And I was on the phone with an American director's lawyer screaming at me because I'd got a film together. I'd got the lead actors. I thought I'd got the money and I'd got the director. And then the money went south and I had to tell everyone, oh, it was horrible. It was so horrible. And at that point I thought, I don't want to do this. I can't. I don't want to do this. Lost a fortune.
It's a very different skill. It's a very different skill.
It is, because you've got to be able to lie and believe the lies. You know, you've got to ring an actor and say, we've got the money. Then you've got to ring somebody else and say, we've got the actor. We've got to ring the money and say, we've got the actor. Not having either. You've got to have the cheek to do it. You've got to have an immense talent to put the script in place. First of all, to see a good script and then to make it even better, because the script is everything, as you know. It's not me. I tried. But then, as luck would have it, I started a horse sanctuary, but we'll come to that.
We will come to that. I want to talk about Martin Shaw, because is it right that the first time you worked together was in a play at Windsor, Vertigo, was it in the late 90s?
Yeah.
And was there just a chemistry there straight away between you two?
Yes, I think there was. Yeah, he's a very good actor. For my money, chemistry is all about actors who listen to each other. That's all it is. It's very simple. if you listen and you watch and react, you react off the other person, you have chemistry. There's something going backwards and forwards. Now, in John Deed, there was an undercurrent of sexual chemistry as well, but that was really the parts, because as actors, we gave to each other. We played tennis with each other, as it were. So chemistry is very simple, but if you don't listen, you don't stand a chance.
And when Judge John Deed came along, was Martin already on board and he asked for you, or did you have to audition? How did Joe Mills come to you?
He was on board and he asked for me. God bless him. And then I had to go and meet Gordon Newman, the producer, because if he'd have hated me, he would have had to have said to Martin, mate, I love you, but I'm sorry. And that was it.
6 years, the longest running legal drama on television ever.
Was it?
Yes.
And we could have gone on running. We absolutely could have gone on running, but Martin had another series and thought, well, I'll go off and do that. Because, you know, it's quite a long time to do something for 6 years playing the judge. And then the person behind us at the BBC who loved us left, and then it was a new broom, and that was that.
I know that a few critics said about the series, well, it isn't real, it isn't true. The legal world isn't like that. But I believe that Gordon Newman decided to cut out all the details because he thought the audience wouldn't be interested in that, and just create a really good drama. And that's why it worked, because people could lock into the characters without getting involved in all the details of the legal world.
We did keep to a lot of details. We always had a legal advisor. The big thing that he did was, I basically said to him, Gordon, I'm playing a really nice role in the pilot. If I'm going to do this, I want to be there every week. And he then had to make the decision to put Joe Mills in front of the judge, or to create a relationship more than would have been realistic. And that was where...
Because of the relationship, you mean, between
Yeah. It was the relationship that made it unreal. But an awful lot of the legal stuff was researched and real, and not all of it followed absolutely to the core, because it is a drama, it's not a documentary. But there was a lot of advice that we took on stuff.
And when that finished, you were okay with it? You knew that Martin was moving on. Did he move on to do George Gently? Is that why he left?
Yes, and there was something he did as a priest. He did I can't remember what it was called. He was very good in it. He's always good in it.
Yeah. But you got a chance to work together again. You've done a couple.
Yes, we've done stage together. I love him. Absolutely love him. He's a pal. And he's a dear friend of Bill's, and I just love him. I love working with him. I love our friendship.
You've always been passionate about animals. You mentioned wanting to train to be a vet, and you almost did that. And a passionate campaigner for animal rights. So the horse sanctuary, why horses as opposed to dogs or...
It was an accident. I'd been giving money to a woman I'd known for years, and in the animal rescue world, and Bill and I had been supporting her. She wasn't a charity, and she'd collected more and more and more animals, and it was quite clear to me that it was going to go south at some point. And one day she rang me up, and it was in August 2011, and she said, I've run out of money. I haven't fed the horses for, I think this is what she said, it's my memory anyway, I might be wrong. I haven't fed the horses for 4 days, they're kicking the gates, what do I do? And I couldn't bear that. So without really knowing what I was letting myself in for, I said, it's okay, I'm going to take responsibility now. We'll start a charity and we'll do this properly. So she had, I think, 40 horses, a cow, pigs, a goat, ducks, hens, dogs, cats, you name it. So I suddenly, with no money anywhere, had to take responsibility. And worse than that, I had to find somewhere else for them to be, because they were being thrown off their site. So I had a month to find another site. So I rang people like Martin. I said, Martin, can you give me anything? And they were amazing, my friends. They were absolutely amazing. Got us off the ground. Obviously, I put in my own money. And then I went to somebody I knew who was quite well connected in the showbiz world. And I said, who do you know who might just lend me some land for a bit? And he rang up his best friend, and his best friend said, yeah, all right, I've got 47 acres in Surrey, come and have a look. And off I toddled, and there it was. And he said, I'm selling it in the spring, but you can come until then. So I went, oh, thank you. So we arrived, all these animals, and the couple who were looking after them. And then I needed to rehome the couple, because actually it turned out they weren't very good at looking after them. And all of the other animals and some of the horses, which I did so to another sanctuary. And I was left with 20 horses. And then he said, do you want to buy the place? I don't like the person I'm selling it to. He's messing me around. Well, I laughed because I haven't got that kind of money. But I did have a flat that I'd bought when I was a young actress, which I'd kept in London. So I thought, well, I'll sell that. And then I persuaded 2 of my trustees to come in with me. And we set up an LLP and we bought the land. So we rent the land to Main Chance for a peppercorn. And it means that it's safe. And then I set about thinking, right, we've got all these horses. What do I want to do? I can't just let them be field ornaments. It won't survive more than a year or 2. And I'd seen how amazing horses were with children. I just knew it instinctively, and I'd seen how dogs were. And I took a couple of the Shetland ponies to the Chase Hospice, which was a local hospice. And I saw how the kids were with them, and the ponies seemed to enjoy it. So I thought, well, if I can give horses another purpose by being wonderful, just by being horses for people to be around, that means that these horses who nobody wants because they're basically old, mangled, injured and abused, and they're untrusting, and most of them couldn't be ridden. And I don't like riding anyway. It's not good for the horses. I'm not going to be shot by 6 million people, but it's not good for the horses. However, I respect that some people do. I thought, well, this gives horses a chance, gives them a real purpose in life of helping people. And so the real purpose of Main Chance was started, which is the horse-human connection. But we're slightly different from other places which do it really just for the people and uses the horses as tools. We really try to work with such regard for the horses, as the horses are partners. If they don't feel up for it that day, they don't work. And we just teach people to really listen to the animals and be aware of them and try and understand what they're trying to tell us and be calm and gentle. And the horses, most of them have had terrible abuse, and they line up to work with the community people, and it's just lovely. It's lovely.
So when people come in, say some kids come in and they're guided towards these horses, there's obviously always somebody there from Main Chance just describing to the kids about this horse's personality, a little bit like you did when I came along. Yeah. So I'd never been there, and you knew every single horse. You knew the personality. You knew which one just to be a little bit gentle with or aware of. And is that what happens? The kids come along, somebody guides them, and they get as close as they can to these horses.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, some horses, just love being with people. So first of all, you've got to teach the child the health and safety, because we've got to keep them safe. And then you take them in, and I've got a whole process that I put in place of greeting an animal where you don't go up and touch it. You stand next to it, not too close, and it invites you in. It usually turns to you. That's your invitation. So then you go in and you scratch its withers. I mean, if you were meeting a new person, you wouldn't want somebody to just come and touch your face.
Or scratch my withers. If anybody scratched my withers without me asking them.
We're obsessed. We're obsessed with touching animals. Sometimes the animal just doesn't want to be touched, just as people don't want to be touched. But some horses love it. So you start the children on the horses that love it. And with the other horses, the 1 or 2 or 3 who are a bit less trusting, you teach them to just stand very quietly near the horse so that they earn the horse's trust. It's all about trust. And eventually they're communicating with the horse, scratching it, and it's turning around for more. And, it's really lovely. And sometimes there's moments when the child is so, what I call present with the horse, in the moment with the horse, and peaceful, that sometimes the horse just nods off. They become incredibly just sort of like that. And the child is so calm. And it's their magic moments where there's a real unity between the person and the horse. And they step into the same bubble, as it were. of
There
love.
really is the most lovely, calm atmosphere there. That's what I remembered about the day. It had been raining hard. It was quite muddy and mucky, you know. But and some of the horses were quite wet and
Manky, yeah.
hanky, yeah. But there was this calm vibe throughout the entire area. It was wonderful.
Yeah. Well, I've got a great team run by Abby, who's our manager, and she's really community based. So we're a family. We really try our hardest, and I believe succeed to be a family of horses and people. We welcome our volunteers and we welcome our visitors, and, you know, it's give and take. It really is.
So how's it been during the pandemic? How have you been able to operate?
One member of our staff, the admin girl, has had to go on furlough, and Abby and the grooming team have stayed working, and God bless them, we've now got 37 horses, and they've done the poo pick and all the care and maintained the site just as a small team. Huge amount of work. And I managed to go down there the other day for the first time in months and weeks and weeks and weeks. And the place looks amazing and the horses look amazing. So I think on June the 15th, we're going to be starting to welcome our volunteers back, but it's still going to be some time before we can do really our full-time community work. And you know, that was the other thing. I created something called Chance to Be, which is mindfulness-based work with horses in a therapeutic environment, all of which sounds awfully jargon, but basically you teach the kids mindfulness via the horses. The horses teach, not us really. Chance to Be is a 12-week course, and we had all these schools coming, and they'd done about 9 weeks, and then lockdown happened. So they couldn't finish their courses. Now, as it happens, you finish the course by about 9 weeks, and then the last 3 weeks are sort of just going back over it to make its stickability value. But it's just been so sad knowing there are all these kids out there in their homes in lockdown, just desperate to come back and be with the ponies. So what we did was we did some videos of the horses grazing, just 2 or 3 minute videos. And then I did some little meditations to go with them. They're slightly quicker than you would normally do as a meditation, because with kids, you have to keep their attention.
Yeah.
You can't pause for too long. But so we've got something called the quiet space on our website that people can nip in and out of if they wanted just a bit of a sanity check.
So if anybody wants to know more about this, just basically look at Main Chance. Just Google Main Chance, MANE Chance, and it all comes up.
The Main Chance Sanctuary. Our website's full of information. It's probably got too much, actually, because there's so much that you can read. But just have a pot around that if you fancy.
Yeah. And it takes up a lot of your time. I guess when you're not working, you're straight over there.
Yeah, it takes up my time. And even when I am working, you know, I'm trying to learn lines and do emails and raise money and support events and all sorts of things. I mean, I was doing Another Mother's Son, and I had to go and host our Christmas lunch back in 2016. So I had a car take me from the set in Somerset up to Guildford, hosted the lunch, and then left early to go back because we had a night shoot. But, you know, that's what you do. And I love it. I love the fact that I've got this beautiful charity filled with these amazing animals. We've also got a dog and 12 rescued hens. Now, our cockerel story is amazing because I've always wanted hens. I love hens. Sadly, we can't let them loose, so they've got their own kind of Cluckingham Palace because the dogs would have them. We haven't trained our dogs not to kill hens, sadly. But Dave... Did
Bill come up with that name, by the way? That sounds like a Billism to me.
No, it's not. It was one of the volunteers.
Okay.
But Dave the cockerel, who must be about 4 now, Abby rescued him at the top of our road that goes up onto the A31. Now, anyone local to Surrey would know the A31 is a 4-lane highway with a hedgerow in the middle. So you've got 2 lanes of traffic going vroom, vroom, vroom. And cockerels get chucked out for the foxes to eat them or to be mashed by cars. And this little fella was no different. Somebody had chucked him out. So there was this little black ball of fluff popping over the 2-lane highway, and Abby stopped and watched. And 6 cars went by, and he survived every single one of them and landed outside her car. And she opened the door and picked him up. And he clambered onto her and went up onto her shoulder and started tweeting in her ear. At which point she rang me and she said, "Jenna, we appear to have a hen." And I said, lovely, good. And so we decided he must be a cockerel. And of course, shortly afterwards, he started the old kind of thing. So we knew it was a cockerel. So I said, great, we'll build, somewhere for them. And let's get him a friend, a little lady. So we got, I forget its name. We got this little white ball of fluff. And unfortunately, that started crowing too, because it's very hard to sex hens when they're young. So this unfortunate thing went back to where we got it from, which was a nice place, so don't worry about that. And then we got some hens from a battery farm. So Dave and his girls are all ex-battery hens, and they arrive as if they've been plucked for the pot. But within a few weeks, they've all got their feathers and their combs, which should be nice and bright red and sticking up, are usually pink and floppy when they arrive. And slowly up go these combs, and they're pretty nasty to each other. Well, they're very nasty to newcomers. You have to have a whole strategy to get them in with each other, but eventually they do. And then they just live a life of joy. And, the kids love them. We have old people visiting from the various care homes around the place, and they love sitting with the hens. So it's a fully functioning multi-creature sanctuary at the moment.
Yeah, I guess seeing those animals, seeing the turnaround in their personalities and the way they look must be just wonderful.
Well, the most moving horse is Gwen. Gwen we rescued back in 2012, and she had a terrible industrial strop tied round her neck. Not so that it was eating into her skin, but it was tied round her neck. We couldn't get near her. So we got her to the site somehow. And then it took the person who was looking after the horses then 9 months of just patience and gentleness to cut it off her. And it's taken us years to get her to a point where she trusts people. Now she trots up and goes, hello, can I work? I'm Gwen. She wants to be with people. She wants to work. Amazing.
And so great for you, Jenny, that you've got that passion, which actually makes a difference as well. It's more than a hobby. It's really another job.
It is, yeah.
You mentioned there Another Mother's Son, which I hadn't seen when it first came out. I think it was 2017 when it was made.
That's right, yeah.
And I didn't see it until late last year, and I was honestly knocked out by it. What a great story, true story, of course. Louisa Gould, living in the Channel Islands, she takes in a Russian prisoner of war.
In the Second World War.
Second World War, yeah.
When Guernsey was taken over, Jersey and Guernsey were taken over by the Nazis. So this was an incredibly risky thing to do, because there was a concentration camp and the Russians were in there. And this lad escaped, and she was asked if she'd look after him, and she took him in, and one of her sons had died. And she just treated him like her own son. And she kept him in plain sight. And then a neighbour snitched on her. And they got him away, but she and her family got arrested. And she and her brother went to Bergen-Belsen, and she went to
Ravensbrück, yeah.
Yeah, Ravensbrück. And she died. She died 3 months before the war ended. Desperately sad. Great privilege to play her. She's an extraordinary woman. Extraordinary woman.
An extraordinary performance and a very, very powerful film. Did you know the story? Did you find the story or
No, the story was brought to us by her niece.
Okay.
And when Bill read it, he went, oh my God, this is amazing. We've got to do this. So then he worked on the script, and then he said to me, do you fancy playing this? And I looked her up, and she was small and dumpy, and I laughed. I said, you want me to play that? And he said, yes, because I think you've got the spirit of her. Doesn't matter that you don't look like her. So I did. And what an amazing lady. And some of her family came on set, and they just loved what we were doing. And they didn't mind in the least bit that I didn't look like her.
That's the best compliment. That's when you know you're doing the right thing. If the
Absolutely.
family
Absolutely. We had a premiere in London. They came, they were thrilled. Thrilled. And we just finished another film called Off the Rails, which is a happy film. This is a funny film. This is what I call a female buddy picture. You've got 3 women of a certain age who go interrailing with an 18-year-old. Actually, 3 menopausal women go interrailing with an 18-year-old. Oh my God, it's funny. We've got Sally Phillips, who, as you know, is incredibly funny and talented, and I worship her. And Kelly Preston, who's a wonderful American actress, married to John Travolta, and Elizabeth Dormer Phillips, who plays the 18-year-old. And we've also got Martin plays a tiny part. Dame Judy plays a very small part. Franco Nero plays a slightly bigger part. Lots and lots of lovely, lovely cameos smattered through the film. And it's just a joyous thing. And that'll be out. Lockdown's kind of squashed that one up for a bit. So that'll be out when cinemas are back up and running.
But it's completed. You finished it.
Yes, it's completed. Absolutely.
Terrific. Jenny, the time has absolutely zoomed by because you've just done so much. You've got so much to say, so much to talk about. Absolutely fascinating. I just want you to carry on. Just carry on doing what you're doing, and Bill as well.
Well, if they give us a chance, we will. It's fun. You know, acting should be about fun. It's about, I mean, it's a chance to have a lifetime of self-therapy and self-help. But what's wonderful about it is that you're allowed to try and work out why people do what they do, and then explain it in a way that other people understand, but also entertain. And it really is the best possible way of making a living. The only downside is that sometimes you don't. And I think that's the hard side to acting, that people are out of work. And such a small percentage of the business do well. And that breaks my heart because there's a lot of talent around. But I've had the best time, and I'm hoping it'll go on for a bit longer. And I'm hoping that people will forgive me for being a bit crinkly and a bit shaggy.
Of course they will. Of course they will. There's so much more. I know there is. And as you say, you know, we're privileged because we get to tell stories. And there are some wonderful stories. And you've already told a few. And there will be more. Jenny Seagrove, thank you so much. And to everybody watching this, really hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please press the donate button. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, go back to the Acting for Others website, press the donate button. That takes you straight to the Just Giving page. Just give whatever you can, just to make sure that performers and entertainment industry professionals are not suffering too much during this very uncertain time. But for now, Jenny Seagrove, thanks so much. See you soon. Thank you so much for watching that conversation. If you've enjoyed it, please go to the Acting for Others website, which is actingforothers.co.uk, and hit the donate button, which will take you immediately to the Just Giving page. And please give as little or as much as you possibly can to help those performers and people in the industry who really need your help financially right now. Thanks a lot.